The Trump administration has invoked the Wartime Alien Enemies Act to deport hundreds of alleged members of a Venezuelan gang to El Salvador. The deportations were announced after a judge had temporarily blocked the effort on Saturday, raising questions over the legality of the move.
And through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash, and double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. As the brother Aharon coming back at you with another lesson, and Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, and I was meditating on something that just hit me the other day through the Spirit, which was going back into history and just kind of going through a lot of these so-called dictators of the previous generations, right? And of course, in the past century, you've had dictators. The likes of so-called Adolf Hitler. All right, you had Joseph Stalin. All right, and then you had Mussolini. Okay, and of course, not to forget Mao Zedong as well. All right, out of in China. Okay, and just going through history, just reading a little bit about them, watching several videos, just to kind of like watch and see how these people actually. Not only how they came into power, but, of course, the history that comes with what they did when they came into power, and to look at it in the lens of what's happening in today's day and age, right? As is written, let's go ahead and get that real quick. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, all right, that there is no new thing under the sun, right? So let's get that. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1. Start off at verse 9. It says, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun," right? So history repeats itself. Okay, that's where you get that concept of history repeating itself, right? Verse 10, it says, "Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us," right? So all these things that we witness today, all right, you can trace it back to some time back in history. Whether it be the religions that people are, participating in, right? Whether it's the lifestyle, sports, politics, right? Governments, like anything and everything that, we have today as a norm, all right, has some form of origin, okay? Because what is what was, right? You can't have what is that what was that isn't what was, right? It can't be, it can't be like, oh, this is how things used to be, but now this is how things are done. Nah, it's some form of variation of what things used to be. See what I'm saying? Same thing, just different time period, different, landscapes, whatever the case may be, right? So there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, and I was watching a video the brother Bukhar Math did earlier today. And it was going into, I believe the topic was something to the effect of the chaos, will ensue, some to that effect. Okay. And it was going into, the whole landscape right now, right? This is all biblical prophecy though, but mind you, but it playing out, in the sense that you have this guy, Trump, okay, DJ Trump, the Armageddon, the President Armageddon Trump, right? Coined by the elder Apostle Har. Okay. He's stirring the pot on all fronts. He's been in power for 3 months, and people are already very uneasy about what's going on. A lot of people feel slighted. This guy was running on no tax on tips, and now he's using Doge to basically wipe away, your happiness, if you will, right? And now people are preparing for World War III at this point. Okay, the economy is looking worse, right? As bad as it was during Biden is worse now under Trump. And he's been in there for 3 months. Okay. People are starting to question, What's up with all these changes that you guys are doing so quickly, that seems to be affecting the everyday American people? Well, it's done by design. They're following the same blueprint. And I want to highlight one specific person. All right, before I go into this, the reading that I want to bring out, one specific person that resembles, or Trump resembles very, very much, is Joseph Stalin. Not physical per se, because Stalin was a short dude. I believe he was like 5'3" or some shit, short little guy. But his ego was like 10'5", so it was double his size. Like the dude, 10'6", it was just like, this guy was out of control with it, but when you see his rise to power, it's very similar to that of Adolf Hitler and that of Donald Trump, and at least in his second term. Okay, the first term when Trump came in, it was everybody against Trump, everybody but Trump. It was like, oh, this guy's the worst, da-da-da. This time, it seems like everybody voted for this guy. Everyone was on board with him coming in because they believed, right? They believed, right, that he was the one to change how things have always been. But yet, we warned you and we told you that he's just going to be the front guy that they'll use to push about this new world order. Okay? And just like the other dictators, Trump is working his way to become a dictator. That's why he said, if you listen closely to his rallies, his speeches and his rallies, he said, "This is my beloved Christians, go out there and vote. Okay? In 4 years, you're not gonna have to worry about it anymore. It's gonna be done. It's gonna be taken care of. It's gonna be good. You don't gotta worry about it." What does that mean? Right? People didn't question none of this stuff, but now they're gonna be seeing certain things soon. Okay? But I wanted to bring this out. The topic of this, I guess I'll title the lesson, "Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini." Okay, and I believe this article was actually written back in October of 2024. Okay, so that was last year, right? So we're gonna read a little bit about it and get the comparisons, the similarities, okay, and what's yet to come here in America, Babylon the Great. Okay, through this guy. All right. It says the former president has brought, or he is president now, has brought dehumanizing language into American presidential politics. Okay, and that is very key because once somebody starts to dehumanize a person or a group of people, it makes it that much easier for the public to accept whatever condemnation might be coming the way of those that said group or said person. Okay, so dehumanization is a huge thing, and it's all part of the Masonic diversion tactics, right? So dehumanize, so very soon we know during the time of persecution, they're going to dehumanize the men of the Lord, the Hebrew Israelites, the true men of the Lord, not these clown ass camps, because they're all going to break, they're going to sell out. They don't stand on anything. All right, they don't stand on anything. But the true men of the Lord, right? Ezra said that he was amazed at how those men stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Okay, so our standing there as a standard, right, and standing stiffly for the name of the Lord will mean that we're going to be oppressed, we're going to be perplexed, we're going to be persecuted on an all-time high, but yet we still have a spirit that makes us stand strong, stand hard against that persecution. All right, like never before, right? So that means that we're going to have a certain type of spirit that's going to be able to help us overcome, those temptations and persecutions and so on and so forth, right? And these elites know that, okay? It says rhetoric has a history. The words democracy and tyranny were debated in ancient Greece. The phrase separation of powers became important in the 17th and 18th centuries. The word vermin as a political term dates from the 1930s and 40s, when both fascists and communists liked to describe their political enemies as vermin, parasites, and blood infections, as well as insects, weeds, dirt, and animals. Okay? The term has been revived and reanimated in an American presidential campaign, with Donald Trump's description of his opponents as, quote, radical left thugs, end quote, who, quote, live like vermin, end quote. Okay, so you're seeing the pattern, right? Or if not, you're going to see it soon, right? It says, this language isn't merely ugly or repellent. These words belong to a particular tradition. Adolf Hitler used these kinds of terms often. In 1938, he praised his compatriots who had helped cleanse, quote, cleanse Germany of all those parasites who drank at the well of the despair of the fatherland and the people, end quote. In occupied Warsaw, a 1941 poster displayed a drawing of a louse with a caricature of a Jewish face, right? And that's the actual history, they propagated for so long, right? That, oh, the Jewish people were gassed to death, they threw them in gas chambers and so on and so forth. No. When you actually go into the actual history of what happened, and of course you have real life testimonies of people who actually went through that, and they did interviews years after, and they described their so-called experiences in those so-called camps. And they said that they were so, that's why this caricature came about, is that the Jewish people were so filthy and so disgusting that their hair was all filled with lice, right? Louse, I guess louse meaning plural form of lice, right? And they had to put them in those so-called, what they call gas chambers, but what was coming out of that was some form of, I think it was, they said a purifying agent or something like that to wipe out all the lice that was in their hair, so they were bathing, right, showering them all like damn cattle, man. Like, you filthy animals. That shit is crazy. When I was doing some study, I said, damn, what the fuck, like that shit, these people, man. Right. But it says the slogan, Jays are lice. They cause typhus. Germans, by contrast, were clean, pure, healthy, and vermin-free. Hitler once described the Nazi flag as the victorious sign of freedom and the purity of our blood, end quote. Okay. Stalin, right? Joseph Stalin used the same kind of language at the about same time, right? And you remember, Stalin was very interesting because he came about, I believe 1924, 1925 was when he rose to power, if I'm not mistaken. And that would be 100 years ago, precisely, 2024, 2025, right? So 100 years. And he was with, I believe he was with Vladimir Lenin. He was part of Vladimir Lenin's crew that was part of the Bolshevik revolution to overpower or overtake the czars of Russia. Okay, because prior to the Bolshevik revolution, you had the czars, right, who were monarchs, right? So it was a monarchy prior to the Bolshevik revolution. But of course, with colluding, just as always, with the toppling of governments, the Jays behind closed doors brought in Lenin. Okay, and he grouped up a bunch of young men who were aspiring to be military leaders and so on and so forth. And they worked together to overthrow the Tsar of Russia. Okay, and the whole concept of Bolshevism and so on and so forth came about. And then through that, I believe it was they had murdered Trotsky, if I'm not mistaken. They're going back and forth with Lenin. And after Lenin was had passed, Stalin kind of worked his way into it very rapidly, if you go back to the history. And once he became, the sole power man in Russia at that time, the USSR, or the Soviet Union, he started off with the concept of, nationalism, like, oh, we're gonna make Russia great again type shit. That same spirit that Trump got, we're gonna clean the swamps, all the things that you people were going through underneath the monarchs. We're gonna change all that. We're gonna build more infrastructure. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. All these different things, right? We're gonna create jobs, right? Same rallying shit that Trump be doing. Okay, and then once he came into power, what he started doing? Started taking out all the people who are in power positions in the government and so on and so forth, who are against him, right? He found out about it. He started taking them out. Okay, arresting them, putting them on on death row and so on and so forth. Right? He didn't care, you know. And eventually, the plannings, the promises, and so on and so forth. In the first few months, of course, first 6 months or so, it's always good. Oh yeah, you know, good things are happening. We got jobs, you know. And then eventually, it's like, yo, the infrastructure itself wasn't holding up. See, there was a problem happening, and the people were suffering for those so-called changes that were being done that was supposed to help them. At least that's what they pitched to the people. See, same thing that Trump is doing now. He comes in, Doge this, Doge that. We're going to do this. We're going to have this. Right now, as we speak, the Office of GS, General Services, right, where you have a lot of the aid, like Medicaid and so on and so forth, that so-called Americans are depending on, right? Because it tells you, woe to you that trust in Egypt, that go down to Egypt for help, right? Those that help and so on and so forth is all being consolidated, right? And the people who might have some form of morals or integrity to fight for the American people are being ousted, and they're replacing them with people who have their own personal vendettas and agendas to benefit themselves and their other elite friends, so-called. Right? So it's a complete takeover of these so-called billionaire and millionaire friends. And they're infiltrated. That's what Klaus Schwab said. Okay? So what you're seeing now, this whole transition, like they said, is not in any way, shape, or form designed or will have an end result of benefiting the American people. No. We're letting you know right now, this is a setup for what's to come next, which is the MOTB. What the prophets of the Lord have been saying for years and years and years. The so-called RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast. So the system overhaul now, Trump just signed an executive order, all right, basically creating the system or officially putting it into play that we're going to enter into a cashless society very soon. America is leading into a cashless system in the next few months. These tariffs are going to push us into that even faster. I believe it was April 1st or April 2nd, these tariffs are going to take effect. So we got April, May, June, July. Within June, July, those 3 months, we're going to see the effects of these so-called tariffs. Right? And who knows what's going to be happening, what kind of diseases are going to be breaking out, which is going to cause for the One Accord Treaty to also eventually take effect. It might not be called that, but it's going to do the same thing, right? Because that's the end goal anyway. See what I'm saying? But you're going to have people who are going to be in opposition to all of this, okay? And those people are going to face heavy consequences, all right? You're going to see Trump really turn up and, hey, remember, he was a snake. He said, you knew I was a snake before you took me in. He kept repeating that. There was a reason why he did that, okay? So let's keep reading. Now that we got a little bit information on Joseph Stalin and how he kind of rose into power and what he did once he became that man, the president or the leader, he became a dictator, right? Yeah, he was mowing out his own people, right? Jailing them, killing them by the millions. I mean, it's history, okay? It says, Stalin used the same kind of language at about the same time. He called his opponents the enemies of the people, implying that they were not citizens and that they enjoyed no rights. He portrayed them as vermin, pollution, filth that had to be subjected to ongoing purification, and he inspired his fellow communists to employ similar rhetoric. It says, and this is from the person's point of view. It says, in my files, I have the notes from a 1955 meeting of the leaders of the Stasi, the East German secret police, during which one of them called for a struggle against, quote, vermin activities. There is inevitably a German word for this. Ah, shit. Hey, yeah, the German Akim out there, I'm going to give it a shot, all right? And just let me know if I said it right or if I was close. All right, so the German word for vermin activities is, let's see. Schadlingsstatigkeiten. Yeah, I tried. All right, Shadling Statikiten. Sounds better, right? By which he meant the purge and arrest of the regime's critics. In this same era, the Stasi forcibly moved suspicious people away from the border with West Germany, a project nicknamed Operation Vermin. Now, Operation Vermin. There's one operation that sounds very similar to Operation Vermin, and that is known as Rex 84. Okay? And Rex 84 is something that we've been talking about for years that eventually is going to happen. They will enact martial law. Okay? And going back to the video that the brother did, that's all leading to the time that we're talking about. Martial law, civil unrest at an all-time high, because the new rules that Doge is going to be setting up, people will inevitably have some form of resistance to it. Okay? I mean, look, it's about to get really, really bad, because they told you they want everybody on the UBI. In order to get your UBI, you have to be digitally identifiable. So that's the trick. Okay? But in order to get there, they have to make the people uncomfortable. And these people have been primed to the point where if any form of uncomfortability comes about, they're going to lose their minds so quickly that any solution to stop them being uncomfortable comes about, they will do it. Okay? When you can't be on your phone, when there's no electricity, there's no food, there's violence in the streets, you will be the one to go looking for help. And at that time, the only help that will be available will be martial law. Remember, Trump says he's the president of law and order. And what has Tom Homan been saying, his so-called border czar? He's been coming in the spirit of, look, I don't care who you are or what you think you're doing. If you come against what we're trying to do, you are going to be known as what do they call it? A threat to something threat that is going to pop up. If I remember, I'll say it. Okay. But this is the rhetoric they're using and is leading to this. Okay. Just like how back during the time of Stalin, you had the Stasi, which is their military, their police, I guess, secret police, they forcibly moved suspicious people away from the border in West Germany. Okay? Border stuff, right? So let's read. Rex 84, which is short for Readiness Exercise 1984 Bravo, was a classified scenario and drill developed by the United States federal government to detain large numbers of United States residents, okay, deemed to be, quote, national security threats. That's the word. That's the phrase. Okay? National security threats. Tom Homan has been heard and seen on multiple occasions using that phrase. What does that mean? They're getting you primed for Rex 84. Okay? It says, in the event that the president declared a national emergency, we are still in a national emergency, the scenario envisioned state defense forces rounding up 500,000 undocumented Central American residents. And of course, they had to conveniently have the border open over the past 4 years, right? So that they can actually fulfill or go through with this plan here. The so-called concept of illegal immigrants was just a ploy, or more like a Trojan horse, for them to actually come after the American people. And we said this was going to happen because guess what? These are not conspiracy theories. These are documents. These are agendas. These are plans that they have. It just leaked out. See, it leaked out. And for them to do damage control, so people are not alarmed and expecting these things and preparing for these things. Because, hey, people will go get guns and be really ready to resist against this type of shit if they knew about it. So they just use their minions to come around and say, oh, conspiracy theory. These guys are tinfoil hat wearing people. Why listen to these clowns? You think the government really going to do something like this to their own people? That's what they want you to think, right? But as the days go by, these things keep on happening. Even the dumbest of the dumb people of America are starting to put the pieces together. Like, yeah, man, these guys were right. Right? So don't let the uncomfortability of the truth make you deny it, because that's not going to help you. All right, it says the scenario envisioned state defense forces, right, rounding up 500,000 undocumented Central American residents and 4,000 American citizens, whom the U.S. Attorney General had designated as, quote, national security threats, end quote, as part of the Secret Continuity of Government Program, COCON, right? These people would be detained at 22 military bases in concentration camps run by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, otherwise known as FEMA. Okay, so history repeats itself, right? Just like they did back there during the time of Germany with Hitler, during the time of Stalin, all right, with Soviet Russia. You're gonna see the same thing here. Mussolini did it back in Italy, okay, and Mao Zedong back in China, okay. It says this kind of language was not limited. Going back to the article, was not limited to Europe. Mao Zedong also described his political opponents as poisonous weeds. Pol Pot spoke of cleansing hundreds of thousands of his compatriots so that Cambodia could be purified. In each of these very different societies, the purpose of this kind of rhetoric was the same. If you connect your opponents with disease, illness, and poisoned blood, if you dehumanize them as insects or animals, if you speak of squashing them or cleansing them as if they were pests or bacteria, then you can much easily arrest them, deprive them of rights, exclude them, or even kill them. If they are parasites, they aren't human. If they are vermin, they don't get to enjoy freedom of speech or freedoms of any kind. And if you squash them, you won't be held accountable. Until recently, this kind of language was not a normal part of American presidential politics. Even George Wallace's notorious racist neo-Confederate 1963 speech his inaugural speech as Alabama governor and the prelude to his first presidential campaign avoided such language. Well, he was an open racist. This guy's he's also kind of sort of open with his racism, but he's able to kind of mask it off by having some Jake clowns perform on his shit just to make it seem like he's for everyone, right? Yeah, it's called magic and theatrics. Okay. It says Wallace called for, quote, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever, end quote. But he did not speak of his political opponents as vermin. And who was he talking about? Segregation was mainly talking about who? Jakes. Okay? So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans being segregated or separated from the so-called white people and so on and so forth. Okay? And which was a good thing when you really think about it. Because during that time, Jake was prospering. Once we separated from the enemy, we thrived. And then you had the whole mindset, oh no, we gotta go. They said, yo, these people, we gotta actually be closer to them. Because look what they're doing. Their communities are thriving. They have their own banks, railroad systems, they have companies, right? Steel companies, which are doing way, way better than the Edomite opened companies. Right? So they had to do something about it. Black Wall Street is just an example. And there's many, many more. Many more. Okay? So continuing, it says, but he did not speak of his political opponents as vermin or talk about them poisoning the nation's blood. Right? Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order 9066, which ordered Japanese Americans into internment camps following the outbreak of World War II, spoke of, quote, alien enemies, but not parasites. Alien threat. Interesting. In the 2024 campaign, that line has been crossed. Trump blurs his distinction between illegal immigrants and legal immigrants. The latter, including his wife, his late ex-wife, the in-laws of his running mate, and many others. He has said of immigrants, quote, they're poisoning the blood of our country. Right? And they're destroying the blood of our country, end quote. He has claimed that many have bad genes. He has also been more explicit, quote, they are not humans, they are animals. They are cold-blooded killers, end quote. He refers more broadly to his opponents, American citizens, some of whom are elected officials, as, quote, the enemy from within, sick people, radical left lunatics, end quote. And these are all quotes from Trump. He said these things. Okay? Not only do they have no rights, they should be handled by, he said, or as he has said, if necessary, National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. So if Tom Homan, who was appointed by Trump to so-called be the border czar, is openly using the words, what was the phrase that he used? Oh shit, I forgot the phrase. Something threat. Let me go find it. Hold on, slack it. Damn. Where is it? Can't believe I forgot the phrase. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But if he's using the phrase of something threat, right? I can't believe I forgot that. Nah, I can't. I gotta find it. Slack it. 1 second. Damn. I feel like I read it. Like. Anyway, Tom Homan uses the phrase something threat, right? Just want to find it. Damn. Anyway, all right, cool. It's no big deal. We'll come back. All right, if using that phrase, right, that includes everyone, really. Okay, it doesn't just stop at so-called illegal immigrants. No, it covers. It's a very, very broad brush he's using to paint there. All right, he's so broad. He's using two hands, really. Okay. So it says, not only do they have no rights, they should be handled by, he has said, if necessary, National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. In using this language, Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He understands which era and what kind of politics this language evokes. Quote, I haven't read Mein Kampf, he declared, unprovoked during one rally, an admission that he knows what Hitler's manifesto contains, whether or not he has actually read it. If you don't use certain rhetoric, he told an interviewer, if you don't use certain words, and maybe they're not very nice words, nothing will happen. His talk of mass deportation is equally calculating when he suggests that he would target both legal and illegal immigrants or use the military arbitrarily against U.S. citizens. He does so knowing that past dictatorships have used public displays of violence to build popular support. Right? So they create this common enemy, and then they use that common enemy as a so-called scapegoat. And then through that scapegoat, it turns out to become more of everybody else that could fall into that, the stead of that scapegoat. Right? Oh, the illegal immigrants are doing this, so now we have to come up with a law that stops people from doing this. Then it affects everybody, not just the illegals. Right? That's the game they play. Right? So it says, by calling for mass violence, he hints at his admiration for these dictatorships, but also demonstrates disdain for the rule of law and prepares his followers to accept the idea that his regime could, like its predecessors, break the law with impunity. It's called executive orders. He's doing it. These are not jokes, and Trump is not laughing, nor are the people around him. Delegates at the Republican National Convention held up prefabricated signs, mass deportation now, just this week when Trump was swaying to music at a surreal rally. He did so in front of a huge slogan, "Trump was right about everything." This is language borrowed directly from Benito Mussolini, the Italian fascist. Soon after the rally, the scholar Ruth Giat posted a photograph of a building in Mussolini's Italy displaying his slogan, "Mussolini is always right." Interesting. These phrases have not been put on posters and banners at random in the final weeks of an American election season. With less than 3 weeks left to go, most candidates would be fighting for the middle ground for the swing voters. Trump is doing the exact opposite. Why? There can only be one answer. Because he and his campaign team believe that by using the tactics of the 1930s, they can win. The deliberate dehumanization of whole groups of people, the references to police, to violence, to the bloodbath that Trump has said will unfold if he doesn't win. Well, that in context, let's because I did see that whole video of him saying that and using that phrase bloodbath. He was talking about the economy, right, and the cars and businesses, and if he wasn't elected, then there'll be a bloodbath in that kind of industry, right? Meaning it will be a bad day, so on and so forth. But the choice of words, right? The choice of words. He knows what he's doing, right? So let's keep going. It says, and of course, he on stage he also recited the poem about the snake and the woman. So yeah, you can remember that too, right? It says, a bloodbath will unfold if he doesn't win. The cultivation of hatred not only against immigrants but also against political opponents, right? The national threats. I think that's what the phrase is, right? None of this has been used successfully in modern American politics, but neither has this rhetoric been tried in modern American politics. Several generations of American politicians have assumed that American voters, most of whom learned to pledge allegiance to the flag in school, grew up with the rule of law and have never experienced occupation or invasion, would be resistant to this kind of language and imagery. Trump is gambling, knowingly and cynically, that we are not. And that's the end of the article, right? But very, very interesting nonetheless, right? And like I said, this is all, through the spirit, this is all leading to pretty much like a repeat performance of those past dictators that their history was filled with bloodshed. Same thing is going to be happening here in America under Trump. Okay, because according to biblical prophecy, all right, we believe he's going to be the one to usher in the MOTB. All right, and I believe his friend Elon Musk also believes that as well, because when Trump was officially inaugurated, Kikius Maximus then tweeted that the prophecy has been fulfilled, right? And we all picked up on what he meant by that. So, just understanding what's going on, all right, in the spirit, all right, seeing the things that's happening on the earth, we know that the end is closer than when we believed, right? So let me get this quick precept here. Oh, shit. There you go. All right, right here. And this is what's coming to America very soon. Okay, going back to the brother's video. All right, chaos will ensue very soon, right? There's a book of Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom," right? And that's going to lead to that martial law. Okay, there's going to be chaos in the streets where not only is going to be race riots, it's going to be political wars, it's going to be gender wars, it's going to be gang wars, right? You're going to see a lot of stuff going on. Right now, you got people burning down Teslas and stuff. That's how it starts. Okay, soon it's going to lead to something else, right? And then everything that just becomes the main topic of that, the flavor of the week, so to speak, that tension is going to be on that. Right now it's Teslas. Soon it's going to be something else, right? But we'll see. Right, verse 3 says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. right? They're going to be going into their witchcraft even more. And you're going to see it. Verse 4 says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, right? So that cruel Lord, we believe, is going to be Trump. And based on what we just read, there's no new thing under the sun. He could be the one possibly, all right, to bring in, all right, that time of bloodshed that we've been talking about. Okay, that the time of complete and utter destruction like never before. All right, when they're using these military and different DARPA military robots and shit, be running through your neighborhoods and mowing people down. Right, scary time, but this is what's coming. Okay, this is what's coming, man. All right, so prepare, man. Trump is definitely, he's going to show his horns. All right, very soon he's going to show his horns, and people are not going to like it. All right, they're not going to like it. All right. But anyway, I'm going to leave it off there, Lord willing, you were edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash, Thawada Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Until next time, Shalom.